Hello everyone, and welcome back to World of Warships Blitz with Terry. Today we are looking at one of the premiums that got away because I didn't have time to check her out when she came out, but it's a relatively recent one. This is the USS Kidd, named after Admiral Kidd, who was a rear admiral and on the bridge of the Arizona during the attack on Pearl Harbor. And he actually died there when the Arizona blew up pretty catastrophically. And the Kidd was the first destroyer named after him, for a reason that I will have to look up because I'm not entirely sure why. They decided to fly the Jolly Roger, so the pirate flag of that thing, when she was launched, and subsequently she was adopted Captain Kidd the pirate as sort of her mascot, and had a pirate flag drawn onto the ship, which I'm not sure is reflected. I'll have a quick look around, but I can't see it anywhere. I don't know exactly where it would have been. Maybe it's on the funnels and we just can't see it well enough here. But anyway, the Kidd was a Fletcher-class destroyer, and she was busy. She was busy in the later stages of the Pacific War. She was there during the invasion of Okinawa, and she has actually been reactivated for both the Korean War and the Vietnam War. And the Kidd still exists up to today. The Kidd is one, I think, of 3 Fletchers that is a museum ship. So if you want, and you live in the US, or you can travel to the US and you want to see the Kidd, then you can, which is amazing, and I will at some point in my life, but for now I'm just going to have to look at it in game. So this is the sort of 1945 end of war configuration that the Kidd was having, and that the museum ship actually still has today. So what do we make of this then? It's a Tier 8 Fletcher. Well, that sounds good, but let's take a look. So how does the Kidd compare to her compatriot, the Benson, which is the Tech Tree Tier 8? First of all, when drawing the ship skills out of the hat, somebody was asking how many, and the answer was a resounding yes. She has 4 engine boosts, 2 sonars, 3 Def AA4, and 3 fuel smokes. And she gets an extra heal. Whereas the Benson has 3 engine boosts, 2 regular smokes, and 2 Def AA1s. What is the difference between a defensive AA1 and a defensive AA4? Well, glad you asked. Let me show you. The defensive AA1 boosts your AA stats by 75% for 20 seconds, both on large and small caliber. The Def AA4 gives you 100% large caliber, 200% small caliber, and 15% range. So keep that in mind. And yes, these are fuel smoke ones, so they don't last an awful lot long. And you get 3 of them, which means you can use them somewhat liberally. They're quite useful if you need to dodge carrier attacks. Stats-wise, yeah, it's a Fletcher hull. She is less maneuverable than the Benson by not a massive amount, but somewhat noticeable amount probably. She's still a pretty good maneuverable destroyer. Obviously the same set of guns pretty much, just with a slightly better range, which I think is the same thing on the Fletchers. And one thing that you'll probably notice here is that she had one of her torpedo tubes removed. That is true. That was in exchange for a bunch of 40mm bore-force and a bunch of 20 mils for better AA. So while she has better torpedoes, she only has 1 quintuple launcher. The AA does not look outstanding at first glance, but you keep in mind the defensive AA skill. So you've got, especially that you've got the small caliber AA up to 123, which means you get a 200% boost on that, and the range boost as well. Small caliber AA is really just effective if you're directly being targeted. This is not a ship, this is not a Friesland, this is not a ship that can actually just, nuke enemy strikes before they come in, but it's still better than what you find on the Benson. The concealment is slightly worse. Now let's take a look at the Fletcher, the tier 9 tech tree, and see how these two compare. Obviously, the Fletcher gets better fuel smoke, gets better smoke, not fuel smoke, gets better defensive AA, so this is a defensive AA 2, which gives you 100%, not 75, and gets the same amount of engine boosts. Same hull pretty much, a little bit less HP than the Fletcher, and again, not as maneuverable as these things, and a slightly shorter range on the guns. So it's kind of a tier 8.5 sort of thing in that regard. And yes, as you can see, the torpedo tubes are pretty much the same, except that the Kid actually has a better range. So you can sort of stealth torp, I guess. And the AA still is better than what you find on the Fletcher, and the concealment is the same, given that they're the same hull. This is quite relevant. So it feels like sort of a hybrid European destroyer / American destroyer thing. She has been doing a lot of AA work in her lifetime, so this kind of tip of the hat nod is appreciated. How can we set her up? You get two choices. You can either go for gunboat, or you can go for AA specialization and improve the damage on your AA. Now, the base damage on these things is not massive. Now, it obviously stacks with the defensive AA skill and any other kind of AA setup, but you're not always going to be in a carrier battle. This is where you kind of have to make the hard choices. You're not always going to be in a carrier battle, which means if you are fully speccing for AA and you get into a battle that has no carrier in it, then you're it's nice to have that, but you're not going to use it. So I actually went with the improved gunboat skill, specifically because she only has one torpedo launcher. The supplies, I must mention that here. I have traded the crew rations for, which gives you improved reload, for the extra AA ammo. Yes, no, maybe. You don't have to. I think both are valid. It gives you a little boost to the AA damage. Again, it's not going to be an awful lot, but especially if you're coming under concentrated carrier attack, it can help. I think in retrospect, I probably would go back to the improved crew rations just for the slightly better reload on the guns. But that's how I've been testing the ship. Equipment-wise, you could go for the main battery reload for better gunboating. What I've done here instead is going for a range, because one of the things that you can do here is improve the range of the small caliber AA, which is the one that does the most damage, and only has a 1.8 kilometer range to begin with. So you can, since you already can boost it with the Def AA skill, it kind of stacks nicely here. Now you could use the Air Defense Mod 2 here for 10% small caliber AA damage to basically keep stacking AA. And this kind of build would make sense if you're playing in a division with a carrier. So if you're playing tier 8 and you're playing in a division with a carrier, you could do a full AA build. And then you could, if you really wanted, also go for the AA range in slot 3, but that is probably the one that kicks your usability most down as a regular destroyer, because you'll be having a 6.3 kilometer concealment, which is not going to be favorable to your survivability. So this is a bit of a mixed setup. It's not a full AA build. It's just kind of something in the middle. And this gets us up to, actually, I've also left a look at the historical camo, which to my great disappointment, does not give us AA damage or AA range. Would have been nice, but it gives us main battery range, which is good, torpedo range, which is good, a traverse speed, which is good as well, because she is a little sluggish, and better surface detection. You can put a captain on it, obviously, and what I've done so far is obviously go for the AA build here. I've also gone for a recon skill. Why have I gone for recon skill? Did this thing get sonar? Yes, she does. Okay, so because it's got AAA and sonar, sorry, so many ship skills I keep forgetting. You can actually use the recon skill for the extended sonar. And I'm going preheating, Daredevil, and fully prepared. And Adrenaline Rush, because it's a fuel smoke, so the Mistweaver isn't really going to do anything besides reducing the cooldown. Which, if you're coming from the main line with a commander that you just want to use on the kid, it's all right. You can also use that skill. Obviously, Engine Overload would be a useful skill to take next, and then you can use the APCS because I feel like the American 127 mils are a little bit anemic on the armor piercing against enemy destroyers, especially at not point blank range. So oftentimes I'm kind of torn between the two. So APCS might improve that a little bit, and then a Giant Hunter would be something that you would take. So my kind of mixed. This is a random play build, right? So if you want to play in a random team, you have no idea what's coming. If you are pairing up with a carrier, then a full AA build, maybe minus the concealment, would probably be a good choice as well. All right, enough of the details. Let's go through some battles with this thing. The first round, we are, I think, flat out tier 8, if I'm not mistaken. No, actually, there's a tier 7, there's an Algeria on our team. And yes, the carriers are bots, so not a huge danger. Of course, there is an Atlantico on the enemy team. And we are playing Hourglass. So let's see how that goes. Given that the carriers are bots, I'm obviously not going to be scouting. They're not going to be scouting, so I'm going to have to be the one doing the scouting. We've got all the engine boosts, so that's fine. And the kid is actually reasonably quick for an American destroyer. It's quite an enjoyable thing. Booster, engine boost up. Torpedo angles are decent, but one thing that you really have to be aware of is, and it's easy to forget, is that you only have one torpedo launcher. So you don't have the alpha damage to rush something that has significant health, because then you drunk your torpedoes into it and it's still alive, and then says, okay, now what? And you're like, okay, fair enough, I'll see myself out. So be aware of that. I tend to play a little bit more at range, which you can, because the torpedo range for an American destroyer at this tier is actually pretty good. All right, something's going to come out of there, probably. Or do I want to drop some torpedoes? Yeah, they reload reasonably quickly. Let's just drop some torpedoes, and then we'll just start shooting things. There is the enemy Aki. Hello, Aki. Let's introduce ourselves. Say hello. Is he going to run into my torps? And I think that would be a no. I think he just dodged it. Well done, Aki. Obviously, there are going to be torpedoes in the water, but that's what I have sonar for. Like, unlike certain enemy battleships, and certain German battleships that I've reviewed recently that do not get sonar, I do have sonar. So these Akizuki torpedoes are completely expected, and there's probably going to be more of them. There's a Bismarck, because the Aki gets a reload. There's a Bismarck. Yep, there comes the second spread. Not bad, not bad. It's a good surprise always to see them coming afterwards, even on a wide spread. And we're just gunboating at this point. This is a bit more of a gunboat just due to the lack of torpedoes that you generally have. And we'll see if we can do something about the Bismarck while dodging these Akizuki torpedoes. Engine boost up again to get ourselves out of spotting range. And then we'll see what we do next. My team is completely huddled up around the capture circle in a defensive manner, which means, which is very nice of them. It means I have the enemy team all to myself. We have the enemy Kaguro is dead, lost to somebody's secondaries. So the rest of them is just kind of sitting there like, all right then, you go first. We don't want, there's scary things out there. The Aki is still around, but I'm sure they're going to be doing something about it. There is also a Cherbourg over there. It's a French thing. It's one of those new French things. I do have to, however, be a little bit careful about... Yeah, there comes the Bismarck, I think. I'm not sure if that was the Bismarck or if that was the Cherbourg, but there is some fire coming in. So let's use the fuel smoke. And if the Bismarck goes in front of the island, then he's dead. Bismarck knows how to use a sonar and goes behind the island. So, I mean, he wouldn't have been dead either way because these are just 5 torpedoes. But yeah, these are not going to hit because Bismarck decided to go behind the island. Smart Bismarck. Okay, but where's my team? Still hanging around the friendly capture circle. So we can keep having some fun. We haven't done an awful lot of damage just yet. They are spreading out a little bit, however. So it looks like the friendly destroyer, and now that the Akizuki is dead as well, they have absolutely no good reason to keep hanging back there. And the enemy team is now down their 2 destroyers, which means we just have to kill the rest of them. I mean, for something like a Cherbourg, it's understandable. You don't want to be offensive in one of these things. you die. I mean, you die also when you go defensive, but I think these were the secondaries. But these things might have high explosive loaded. By the way, use your heals very early. No, that's the armor piercing, and he's aiming too high. I'm a little faster than that. Use the heals liberally because because you've got 4 of them. So play that like a Swedish destroyer. Okay, there comes some fire in from all directions. I think he is turning, so I'm gonna put the torpedoes a bit more front-wise. So he might be just dodging between those. We'll see. But I don't want to get too close because I'm gonna get crossfired from the other side, and this is just a fuel smoke. So he's gonna go torpedo dodging. And still firing armor piercing at me, which might work. Well, yeah, this I think he's dodged all the torpedoes. Well done. But they were really just there to distract you. Oh, look, Atlantico. Hello. Okay, must kill Atlantico. Nasty thing. We still haven't lost anything, which is quite surprising. So our 2 cruisers are still hanging back around. Don't want to get any over here in any fashion. But the battleships are coming along now because all the enemy destroyers are dead. So they're starting to feel brave. And yeah, like I said, I haven't done an awful lot of damage. I'm just been kind of bimbling about and shooting stuff. You know, it's a fun ship. There comes the carrier, but that's a bot carrier, so no real threat. We can, however, start using our AA and see if we can do a little bit about that Atlantico over there. Do remember that you only have a fuel smoke, so be a bit careful with your. Be a bit careful with that. You can't sit still in that. It doesn't last long. You take it with you, and it's you cover your turns. I mean, Atlantico's not looking at me, so I can probably get a little closer to that thing before his secondaries start opening up at me. We'll put that island there. Okay, do I want to go in as a Cherbourg, Bismarck, Atlantico? Probably not. Okay, now I'm gonna turn around. I mean, Atlantico isn't looking at me, but I also don't have an awful lot of hit points left. So let's see if we can get some torpedoes in. There comes the carrier. Carrier is dropping me. Not a huge threat. It's just a bot. We might be able to catch the Cherbourg actually, and maybe we get one torpedo hit or so on the Atlantico. Yeah, we got 1 hit on the Atlantico, but I think the Cherbourg is getting away from that. And yes, again, more of a gunboat just because of the lack of torpedoes that you have. Cherbourg is dead, and I think at this point the enemy team is being dismantled, and we set another fire. The fire chance on these guns isn't great, but yeah, there come the auto secondaries. But if you get lucky, like me today, and you get like, what is it, 8 fires? Okay, Atlantico has seen me. There's another fire. Atlantico has seen me, so yeah, these secondaries are nasty, so we definitely do not want to hang around here. Where are you going? Are you still reversing? Okay, drop the torpedoes. Oh yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Okay, I'm going. There's the Cherbourg. Crap. Why had nobody killed this thing yet? Battleship, what are you doing? You're back there. Okay, I managed to kill... Oh, the carrier went... Get down, Mr. President. And I think the Atlantico killed me? Was it? Or it was... I think it was the carrier that killed me as well. Anyway, sorry team for messing up the Ruffle Stomp medal. I was just having too much fun in this thing. And since you all have been sitting back at the base for most of the game, I figured I deserved that. So, what if you don't have a bot carrier? Welcome to Domination in Southern Archipelago, where we are playing against a black Shokaku. I have no idea what the difference is between the regular Shokaku and the black one, besides the obvious fact that the black one's black. We also have North Carolina, Tallinn, Benson, and Mayhem. Off we go. it is a domination battle. We do have an Enterprise on the friendly side. So we'll see what my AA can do if the enemy carrier decides that he wants me dead. And he's not going to stop until he gets what he wants. Alright, engine boost up, go for the Cup. That's a Cherbourg, it's useless. And I am going for the armor piercing just in case I'm going to find the enemy destroyer early on. Like I said, I'm kind of on the fence here between the AP and HE on these things. But there comes the carrier, what looks like the carrier. So let's tuck ourselves in behind this island first and see if we can escape attention. Hello, Mr. Carrier. Defensive A up, and I think he's going for me. Yes, he's going for me. So I know that the torpedo bombers are going to go for me as well. Fortunately, it's not an American carrier, so I'm going to use the fuel smoke to disguise where my torpedoes are going. And actually the torpedo, yeah, there they come. And he's a little undecided. And in the end, just, I think, decides to drop the Cherbourg because that's what he can see. So you can use the fuel smoke to avoid torpedo drops to a degree. And so far, what's our catch? 6 airplanes so far. Not terrible. There's the Mayhem. Okay. Sonar up, just in case there are torpedoes, which there probably are. And we'll see what we can do. But yeah, armor piercing a bit meh. That's a bot. Okay, let's see what. There's a lot of them over here, and there's just the Cherbourg and myself because the rest of my team is clustered up on the on A Cup. And Cherbourg's like, nah, I ain't fighting that lot. That means there's 2 bots, right? Let's drop some torpedoes in the general direction. Maybe we get lucky and the Mayhem can run into them. But generally, torpedoes feel like a little bit of an afterthought, really. Yep, there come the Mayhem torps. Not going to run into those. And he's not running into mine either. So we have managed to not torpedo each other, which is kind of... but I don't think he's realized that he has guns. So I always appreciate that when enemy destroyer players think that all they have is torpedoes, and if they're not having their torpedoes ready, all they can do is sail in a straight line. But there comes the carrier. There comes that carrier again to spoil my fun. So fuel smoke up. Let's see where the torpedo bombers are dropping. They are dropping, but I've got the engine boost running. I'm doing 41 knots, so these torpedoes are not... magnetic torpedoes. Yay! Shot my rudder off. Okay then. Yeah, well, the fun and joy of playing against carriers. That's a bot Amagi. Doesn't make it any less dangerous towards me, especially that bots can be a little random in what ammunition choice they're using. So if that thing's got the high explosive loaded, what? Okay, so my torpedo hit the enemy Amagi like a good 5 seconds before they were even in range. Wargaming! Fix the torpedoes! There comes the carrier again. Hello, carrier. Defensive A up and run away from the Amagi, who is flooding. And it looks the Cherbourg is going like, nah, screw this, I'm going home. So I'm really just in a... Oh, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. That's these guys suddenly load the high explosive, and then you're screwed. Okay, there come the torpedo bombers again. Can we fool him a second time, or is he just gonna hang around until my fuel smoke dissipates? I think the latter is the case. So we may have to just bob and weave. Okay, he dropped the torpedoes there. Nope, that's not where I'm going. The longer you can get him to, you know, hang around and try to torpedo you, the more of the torpedo planes you actually manage to shoot down. Nope, that ain't happening. That didn't have time to arm. Okay, who else is coming after me except the carrier, who is really trying to kill me? North Carolina, have some torpedoes. And there come the dive bombers again. Run away! There's also a destroyer somewhere out there, who seems to have killed the friendly carrier. Defensive A up, just to make sure that we get these things killed, if we can. And then we'll try to shoot at the North Carolina, because we're spotted anyway. And the North Carolina, to his credit, has seen the torpedoes coming. Okay, there is the enemy Benson. Okay, sonar up in case he's got torpedoes away, and see if we can do something with the guns against that thing. There comes that carrier again. And I am all out of defensive AAs, but I think I've done my share in this game so far. We are very close on points, however. And where are these two? Oh, okay, that I'm not gonna dodge. Maybe the second one. Nope. Okay, fair enough. That was a good drop, and I've been reacting too late here. and that was a good drop with the torpedoes. So it's 4v5. But we're holding 3 of the capture circles. We've got a black Scorner. That thing might have some AA. We've shot 26 planes down in this whole game. And yeah, the carrier, the carrier's down here actually, which means the Scorner is now also taking this cup. Okay, this Amagi coming under attack from the Benson, but good job at dodging. Cherbourg, there is a North Carolina coming around the corner, so do be careful there, please. Scorner, yeah, could just really do just dodge the torpedoes as much as you can, right? And shoot things down. Scorner, you want to dodge that. You don't want to sail in a... Okay, sailing in a straight line is a very, very bad idea if you're up against the carrier. Yeah, that ain't happening. So that Scorn is probably dead. We still have a Nagato bot over there. Which tells you what kind of battle this was. Okay, so Cherbourg, there's a Benson rushing you. Amagi, why are you sailing out of there? Why are you coming out? Okay, so Amagi decides to commit suicide by battleship. Cherbourg plays well, actually surprisingly well here, and has killed the Benson, but because he had to dodge torpedoes, he's now sort of giving broadside to that North Carolina over there. And there's still the Shokaku out. And the Scorner probably really... last time that did not go so well for the Scorner. Yep, that Scorner is dead. Cherbourg, why are you going... You're sitting there still, broadside on. Okay, Cherbourg kills the Mayhem, but Cruiser is worth more. Yep, there she goes. So now we have... It's 3 versus 1, and it's a Nagato. It's a bot Nagato. But he only needs to survive for 13 more seconds because we are holding all 3 capture circles. So unless he dies, we win. Come on, bot, you can do it. Bot Nagato for the win. Okay, North Carolina does whatever he can, but it's just not enough, and the bot carries the game. Yep. And Cherbourg, well done actually. Well played from the Cherbourg. Give him that. Except for the last... oh shit, I'm sitting broadside on to an enemy, to a North Carolina at point blank range. I'm dead. So yeah, if an enemy carrier really wants to kill you, he's going to lose about 26 planes in the process. And that's with the sort of mixed... with the mixed setup of AA. Is the Kid a great ship? Yeah. It's a fun ship. Right, it's kind of if you like if you like European destroyers and you also like American destroyers, if you've always wondered what would happen if you kind of fuse the two of them, that's sort of what comes out of it. So it's a fun ship, but I would not say it's necessarily a great ship. The loss of 1 torpedo tube definitely does not pay sufficiently for the relatively small amount of AA boost that you're getting. Anyway, that's it for me today. Thanks, everybody, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.